Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we are going to be talking about water element in the current game with Astrius coming out and with Esther coming out. We're going to ask the question, can they survive? Can water really get its way in to any type of a competitive form? We're also going to talk about my previous lightning video that a lot of people got super worked up on. We're going to go kind of into the specifics about that and talk about it in a little bit more of a chill environment. So let's go ahead and dig in. First off, if you do want more Diggs content, I was on the Peak Pack podcast with Clint Wolf and Zoxiskin. It's over on Clint Wolf's YouTube channel. He's another mobile content creator. They are both planning on covering Echoes of Mana, and I am too. So definitely go check it out. Go drop a comment on that video. Go say hi. It was a great experience. I feel like there was a lot of behind the scenes I wish I could just share with you guys from being with Clint and Zoxis, but you know, it's one of those things where maybe one day you'll get to hear it, but we have so much in common. It's absolutely fantastic. So I think first off, the question of if water can survive, right? Before we even talk about, you know, my last lightning video and kind of the feelings that people had from it, I think a lot of people, a lot of their frustration, a lot of their anger coming right now is they feel like water is not getting its heyday, right? I think people are feeling like water's getting screwed over, you know, water's not going to be relevant, and that is absolutely not true. You know, we have Astrius coming out for water, and he's literally going to be one of the most powerful units in the game. You know, it's almost like saying Gumi released another light unit and that's going to make Starlight Elena not relevant, right? Like Astrius is going to have the level of impact on the game, or at least he did on JP, as Starlight Elena did. So to say, you know, that water is not going to be relevant or water is not even going to be viable is completely wrong. And you know, if you're one of those people who are beating up on yourself, if you're like, man, why did I pull Celeste? I'm just getting screwed. Like, please recognize like all of that frustration and that anger that you have is probably misplaced, because water is absolutely going to be powerful. It's absolutely going to be dominant. It will be a force to be reckoned with, even if lightning becomes a little bit more powerful. Don't sell water short, because Astrius is going to be so powerful and have such an impact on the game that, you know, they've literally, like, think about it this way. They've literally released 2 100 cost lightning GL units to try and counter the impact that Astrius is going to have on the global meta. So with that in mind, consider how powerful he'll be, even if Esther becomes very powerful and very relevant. And you know, this kind of feeling and this kind of frustration, I kind of felt in a lot of your guys' comments. And first off, I want to say I really loved that video. I really loved, you know, there's a lot of things I loved about that video. I think the thing that I'm proud of the most is how many people carried that conversation to their Discords. And, you know, I'm in a lot of y'all's Discords, and I saw a lot of conversations going on about it, a lot of conversations going about lightning. And as much as some of the facts might have been wrong, I think for the most part, it got people having a different type of dialogue than being kind of in this state of mind where, oh, woe is lightning, you know, woe is water, you know, water is completely screwed now. I think it got people talking about lightning and kind of the inadequacies that do exist within lightning. And that's not to say lightning is not, you know, competitive in any capacity. Of course you have Charlotte, Ibarra, and Cloud, you know, can put together a composition. You can be competitive against light meta right now. Whether or not it's the second strongest element in the game, I'm not sure I would go and make that claim. Maybe it's third or fourth. But I think, you know, we as a community tend to think about elements and their discussion strictly as PvP. And that's what I really wanted to try and get away from in that video. And I think a lot of people, you know, took that away, and I think a lot of people didn't take that away. So, you know, the fact that there are so many PvP content creators in the War of the Visions space, a lot of the times we get into the mindset that War of the Visions is only PvP. And for me, it's about a lot more. It's about build diversity, right? I talked to a lot of people in the comment section about this, but you know, we talk about, you know, Lightning has Cloud, Ibarra, and Charlotte really is kind of like primary powerhouse units, right? Light has Elena right now and Locke. But if you took Locke and Elena away, Light would still be a relevant element, right? Light would still be able to put together compositions. It would still be able to do PvE content. It would still be able to do things and be relevant. Lightning, if you just took Cloud away, would not be functional. I mean, you have to consider, of course, my cat's going into the window right now. You have to consider that, you know, Lightning is one of the only compositions where we actively use an SR unit for lightning / chaining, right? Lightning's the only composition where we are utilizing shoot cell, an SR unit. Lightning's one of the only compositions where we actively utilize Sir O, right, for / chaining. Now, of course, there are other elements like wind where maybe you're using Dario, right? But almost every other element doesn't need to rely on MR units, right? Like you think about the last time a mainstay element had to rely on an MR unit, that's going to be Dark relying on Gafgarion almost a year and a half ago, right? So when I think about elements as a whole, I tend to think of them as, you know, their entire spectrum, not just PvP, but also PvE. That would be Trials of Reckoning, that would be raid content. And I recognize that a lot of you guys are able to do PvE content quite easily, right? A lot of the people watching my channel are in those top 5% guilds that are able to, you know, solo or duo a lot of the PvE content. The reality is, though, there are a lot of players that are free to play. There are a lot of players that are newer to the game that don't have that capacity, that don't have these compositions built up. And for them, this is a struggle, and this is a very relevant conversation. So I guess one of the things I would ask is for those of you that are in that sphere and in that space, just keep that in mind, right? Keep in mind that you are a more competitive player, right? I think it's one of those things where, you know, I saw a comment thread the other day, and it was talking about the relevance of Lightning in my comments section. And it said, well, I can get into top 1000 of Arena with Lightning, so that means that it's good. And I'm like, okay, like for that person, getting into top 1000 is what defines being an element as good for Arena, right? And candidly, I could probably get into top 1000 Arena with my MR units, right? Like I could probably easily put together an MR composition and get into top 1000 Arena if I tried, because I have the right bonus units, I have the right bonus VCs, all of these kind of things that factor in. And I think it's important to understand that there are significant differences in the community in terms of levels of player, as well as players who are passionate, right? Obviously the players who are more passionate, that are, you know, speaking out a lot more, they're going to be more highly involved in the community. So I do want to just mention that as well. There's a couple other things that came up. I think, of course, I think I could have articulated the video a little bit better and in a different way. I think, you know, when Giant and I were talking about tone and we were talking about like video title just now, we were talking a lot about how maybe we should have changed the title of the video and been a little bit more broad in our conversation. I kind of like this video, not so much like the last video where it was like, this is Lightning, this is what makes Lightning wrong. Because I think when I provide visuals and I do stuff like that, it kind of passes on the idea that I'm making an argument against Lightning and these are the reasons. And that is kind of true, but it doesn't encapsulate everything, particularly in a 15-minute video. So really interesting conversations there. One of the other things that came up quite a bit was the idea of other content creators. And I'm not knocking anybody here, but I think it's interesting to think about how content creators influence the way that we think about elements and units. For example, I had someone say, you know, Lightning can't be the worst because Orange said it was the 3rd strongest, right? I had people say, no, like Nivlu and Frederica and, you know, Cloud are very relevant to counter the water meta of Astrius because I saw it on Cabbage's video, right? And I think it's really interesting, you know, seeing comments like that, because it really shows how we can be colored and tailored by other content creators, not necessarily in a bad way, but understanding our the things that influence us and the reason we think the things that we think. I purposely don't watch other content creators' videos because I feel like if I watched another content creator's videos, I would end up in a situation where I might just be parroting what they say, which is not something I would ever want to do. I'll definitely check them out every now and again just to see kind of what they're doing new and what I could improve on. But I think it's really important. I think a great example of this would be Terra recently. You know, I famously have said that Terra is never going to be meta. I don't think Terra will ever be meta. But you see, and again, this is not to knock people, right? But Mysidia literally did a video on the thumbnail where it was me saying Terra is never going to be meta, right? And it was a showcase video talking about, you know, how powerful Terra was in a PvP environment, right? So that if you watch that video, you know, and maybe you watch Mysidia's videos all the time or whatever it is, you know, you might think that Terra is absolutely going to be meta, right? But that's not what Mysidia said. But the implication basically that you're taking away from that video is that Terra is way better than people are saying. You know, she's going to be relevant. She's going to bring fire back, right? And I recognize not everybody here is going to say that. But it's also one of those things where you carry that with you, right? For the last 2 weeks, I have been hearing nonstop because people have been watching Terra videos on other content creators' channels. I've been hearing nonstop, Terra's amazing. Terra's meta defining. Terra is gonna tear down light. I took down these light compositions, right? And we frequently don't interrogate those videos or those PvP matches, right? Like you could easily tear down a light composition with almost any party if it's a terrible light formation, right? If you're making your video in top 10,000 arena versus top 100 arena, that's a completely different perspective, right? And, you know, a lot of times, you know, content creators are very clear where they're doing their matches, right? But sometimes they aren't. And sometimes people, you know, infer that what content creators are saying is absolutely, you know, for that unit going to be meta defining or change the game, right? I think we're also approaching a place now where, you know, the units that content creators have access to with trust runes, with double VCs, can be significantly more powerful than the average player. And I think that's also something that's important to keep in mind as we are interrogating videos, as we are leaving comments, as we are interrogating our knowledge of the game and our ideas. That's also something important to keep in mind. So I think that's, you know, kind of all I had to say. It's just a lot of things I had on my mind, you know, responding to comments. There's a lot of talk about quantity versus quality, which I think the quantity versus quality argument is almost a defense of Gumi, which I would never want to accuse someone of defending Gumi. But I think, you know, quantity versus quality for Lightning, I'm not sure the quality is there. I think the quality is there for Cloud and maybe a little bit for Ibarra, but I'm not sure the quality is there for Lightning as a whole. And I don't think the quantity versus quality argument works because you have other units like Elena, who would be a very powerful unit, right, on par with Cloud in light element. So why do they get quality and quantity, right? There's, you know, yes, you know, your quality versus quantity argument is very interesting, but also there's a lot of holes in it, right? There's a lot of situations where quality versus quantity, you know, yes, quality versus quantity, but others have both. So I just think there's a lot of interesting things, and we could talk about this for hours. I could go on about this forever, but hopefully a lot of you guys feel a little bit better about that Lightning video. I don't think people were super upset. I didn't actually get a lot of downvotes on the video, but I did feel like I needed to make a follow-up video about it. I did want to talk about it a little bit, kind of talk about where I was coming from, and that's kind of, you know, how I wanted to wrap it up. For those of you that are wondering, I am recruiting for my casual guild right now as well, Goblin Tea Party. So make sure you shoot a message to me or you look us up. You can look up Goblin Tea Party on the guild search and you can easily find it. So if you're a newer player out there, you know, come find us, look us up and join. We are trying to recruit like 15 people right now. So if you're out there and needing a guild and want to join us, come hop in. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys on stream. I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot about this on stream and catch you guys next time.